MTG Scoundrels, it's in the cardboard.
Ladies and gentlemen, scoundrels of all ages, welcome back to another episode of Modern Weekly. Today on the docket, we have Hollow One versus new to the format, Esper Ketramose. Looks like we have Hollow One starting on 6 here. Marsh flats and go for the Ketramose player. 18 for Hollow One. And starting with a Nethergoyf. Passing the turn. On end step, Ketramose's going to crack a Marsh Flats. Finding the blue-white surveil land. A meticulous archive, if you will. Sadly, if you had to know how many times I had to look that up, well, you'd probably laugh. But there's a lot of cards in Magic. Can't remember them all. Putting that polluted delta into the bin. There is a Godless Shrine. That'll put us to 17. There is a Psychic Frog. A key piece of these Ketramose lists. It's just instant speed, draw a card as long as you got the cards in the bin to exile for Ketramose. There is a Wooded Foothills. Drawing for turn. There's another polluted delta. This one on the battlefield, it's going to get cracked. We'll go to 18 to 16. In response to the crack, Wooded Foothills also could be sacrificed here. Finding a mountain. Nethergoyf at least a 1-2 now. However, there's an Orcish Bowmasters. Dealing 1 to the Esper Ketramose player. Bowmaster's a pretty decent card in these lists against Ketramose. If it survives, Ketramose really has to watch its life total. Speaking of, there's the new card from Aetherdrift, Ketramose the New Dawn. Psychic Frog, going to exile 3 cards to give itself flying. Bowmaster's going to deal damage after the card draw of Ketramose here. So losing 2 life. Bring us to 17 to 13. Right now, 3 cards exiled under Ketramose. Or at least 3 cards to the count. Deciding not to attack him with the Psychic Frog. Mostly keeping track of its life total, looks like. Ooh, an Arena of Glory. Powerful tool for these Hollow One decks. So activating the Arena. Making 2 red mana. There's a new card, Marauding Mako. Very powerful card that can get big very quickly. Using 1 of the mana, so it has haste. Into a Fear of Missing Out. So it will have haste as well. Discarding a Faithless Looting. Drawing a card. Mako's going to get a counter here. Going to combat. Swinging with everything other than the Orcish Bowmasters. Smart. The Bowmaster is one of the ways you're going to stay in this game. Discarding 2 cards to the Psychic Frog. A Psychic Frog and a Ketramose. Psychic Frog looking like gonna get in the way of the FOMO. Maybe? Yeah, getting in the way of the FOMO. Taking the initial damage. Bringing us to 17-7. And Nethergoyf is now a lot bigger with a... It was initially a 2-power creature, but it just got a creature type and an enchantment into the bin. Ooh, there's a Nile Spellbomb. The amount of main deck graveyard hate and exiling that are needed in this format, thanks to Breach, is really intriguing. Exiling the bin, Ketramose is going to trigger, lose a life, draw a card. Bowmasters will trigger and deal a damage. Ooh, there's a Solitude. Pitching a Ketramose. That'll exile the Orcish Bowmaster. Ketramose will draw a card, lose a life. Ephemerate. It's going to exile the Solitude. Drawing a card off of that and losing a life. The Solitude. Going to exile the Mako. That's going to draw a card, lose another life. So that's going to bring us to 20-2. There's 7 cards exiled. Ketramose is going to get in to gain some life here. Goes 16-6. Untapping and drawing as the Hollow One player. This is a really unfortunate spot. That top deck was kind of insane. Cracking the Bloodstained Mire, making Nethergoyf back up into a 1-2. Probably finding... Well, looks like that's an Elegant Parlor. So the Hollow One deck having all their colors here. Surveilling away a Street Wraith, which will make the Nethergoyf bigger. Still have a 3/3 Orc army and now a 2/3 Nethergoyf. Staring down Psychic Frog, Ketramose, and Solitude. And deciding to keep putting the pressure on here. Trying to get rid of that Solitude would be my guess, to make things a little bit more awkward. And you're also holding up 2 mana. Discarding an Emperor of Bones to the Psychic Frog and blocking the Orc army. Taking 2. Going to 4. And of course, passing the turn here. Ketramose player deciding if they are going to cast the ephemerate and deciding against it. Sitting at 4 mana, or excuse me, 4 life and 3 mana. Ooh, Graveyard Trespasser. So we'll only lose 1 life in this exchange. Or excuse me, yeah, especially after that Orcish Bowmaster. Only going to lose 1 life here. That'll be 14 to 3. Oh, goodness. Well, Solitude will do the job. That'll bring us to 15 to 2. Finally drawing the card off the Ketramose. Already lost the life. Attacking in. Taking 7. And that will bring us to 8 to 9. Playing a polluted Delta. Passing the turn. Alright. Faithless Looting. Draw 2 and discard. They'll grow the Nethergoyf. Draw 2, discard 2, excuse me. Looks like discarding a Bowmasters and a Goblin Lore. Bowmasters at this point, probably not where you want to be. Faithless Looting. Gonna get flashbacked here. Draw and discard. There's a hollow one. So 4 types in the bin. Graveyard Trespasser is going to soak up some damage here. Get thrown under the bus, if you will. 3 mana. Ooh, Bogart Trawler. Take a damage, draw a card. Nethergoyf no longer big. Taking a damage, drawing a card by activating the Psychic Frog. And they'll scoop it up from there. Game 1 going to Esper Ketramose. Thank you everyone for watching us here at MTG Scoundrels. If you enjoy our content, please like and subscribe. Be a friend, tell a friend. And also, if you want updates on the channel as well as other goings on, definitely check out our social media. We are on Blue Sky, Twitter, and Facebook. So give us a follow at MTG Scoundrels. Of course, check out our sponsors. Starting here with Grove Warden Games, hosts of our channel, sponsors of our channel. Wonderful place to storm out. Definitely give them a look. Links in the description below for their store and their TCG player link. Thank you so much for sponsoring us. And definitely check out our friends over at Arcane Artistry. Make wonderful food clue and treasure tokens in the stained glass style, as you've seen on this channel. Etsy link in the description below, and of course they are working on getting new tokens out so stay updated with them. And if you're looking to get some art projects done for your channel, for your business, or just as a gift to somebody else, reach out to our friend Sean Gerard. Email in the description. They did art for this channel, and we love what they did, so definitely give them a look. And now we'll move into a segment I like to call Monologues of a Scoundrel. So what are some sleeper decks in this modern format? There's plenty of options here. Now granted, Burn is one I think is going to be a sleeper in this format moving forward, simply because Ketramose loves to mess with its life total and get into that really dangerous range within fetching for lands, just taking damage off Ketramose every time they exile a card. So you can really put some major pressure on them. And with some of your abilities to play Skullcrack so they can't gain life is definitely something you can work with. Another deck to be looking at is Mill. Mill, of course, known as arguably one of the better burn decks in the format. In this case, a 60-card burn deck. I actually think it's in a pretty good spot because it has some decent play against specifically Temur Breach. Having options to surgical stuff after you mill them is pretty good, especially if you can hit a couple of their key pieces. Of course, their reliance on Leyline of the Void, and having access to cards like Extirpate, which has split second, which shockingly is very relevant in this format right now. And that is why I think Mill is a good option. Now, another deck or decks to look at, I believe, are other combo lists that can move at a quick pace. You've seen in some lists that Allosaurus Rider decks have been sneaking up on MTGO lists every once in a while. Of course, its biggest problem being its consistency, and it can be hated out. Another deck that is something you keep an eye on are these Samwise food lists. Now, of course, everybody knows about the combo of Sam, Viscera Seer, and Cat, but with new cards coming out, such as Bright Glass Gear Hulk, being able to find two pieces of combo, it really opens things up a bit, and you can play more into white with Recruiter of the Guard if you would like. Now, granted, you can also just stick with the old-fashioned food playing Coco, an Academy manufacturer, and that is an option as well. Now, another list, in terms of combo, is really taking advantage of the Bright Glass Gear Hulks. Shockingly, are these Colossus Hammer decks, which really give you options to be able to go find your mana piece if you already have a card that can let you equip at instant speed, as well as finding Colossus Hammer, or just find answers for you to be able to get your last bit of damage in. And finally, a deck that everybody needs to keep an eye on, of course, is Yawgmoth, because every time it gets ignored, it seems to sneak itself back into results as a better creature combo deck in the format. Of course, Yawgmoth, Thran Physician, Young Wolf, cards of that nature really make the deck very consistent, and Birthing Ritual seems to be a card that, moving forward, as well as the Unban of Green Sun Zenith, will always be sneaky good enough for these lists. And these are decks that I see will be able to hopefully battle some of the better decks in the format as underdogs moving forward. Moving into Game 2 here. Starting with a Raucous Theater, surveilling, putting it into the bin, and passing the turn. There's a Meticulous Archive, surveilling, keeping it on top and passing. There's a Blood Crypt, that'll bring us to 18 to 20. Orcish Bowmasters. That'll deal damage. Bring us to 18 to 19 and passing. There's a Marsh Flats for turn for the Ketramose player. Going to go ahead and crack it here. Going to 16. Finding a Godless Shrine. Was more than likely finding a black source for a future Ketramose anyway. Oh goodness. Orcish Bowmasters taking out the Orcish Bowmasters. That is rough for the Hollow One list. Ketramose already proving itself to be a rude deck. There's a Bloodstained Mire that's going to get cracked. What will they find? I would assume a basic. Yep, there's a basic mountain. Trying to mitigate damage here. Especially considering Goblin Lore and such aren't as good into an Orcish Bowmasters on the battlefield. Alright, there's a Detective's Phoenix. That has haste. Looks like the Orc army tokens will trade. And the Phoenix will get in for 2, bringing us to 17 to 14. Watery Grave, taking 2. Into a Psychic Frog, attacking for 1 with the Orcish Bowmasters. That Frog is a pretty decent card to stop a Detective's Phoenix. Unsure what that was. Phoenix getting in. Frog deciding not to block. Bring us to 16 to 10. There's a shadowy backstreet. Surveilling. 2 creatures getting in. That'll bring us to 14 to 10. Drawing a card off the Psychic Frog. And there is an Emperor of Bones. And passing the turn. Emperor of Bones does a decent job of controlling the graveyard. Hollow One getting cycled here. Taking a damage off the Orcish Bowmaster. Looks like another Hollow One was drawn. Wooded Foothills here. Man, that is a lot of card draw in that hand. That is a tough spot. In some ways, you just kind of have to go find the removal. Cracking the Wooded Foothills. Finding an Elegant Parlor. That'll bring a Surveil. Putting a Thoughtseize into the bin. There is a Faithless Looting. Drawing 2. Dealing 2. Discarding 2 as well. There's a Hollow One. And passing from there. Oof, there's a Solitude. That'll exile the Hollow One. There's an Ephemerate. That'll deal with the Detective's Phoenix. And scooping it up from there. Game, set, match going to Esper Ketramose. Thank you all so much for watching us here at MTG Scoundrels. If you enjoy our content, please like and subscribe. Be a friend, tell a friend. And we will see you all next week.